Good morning. My name is Tracy Miceli, and I'd like to welcome you to Bergen Community College. This morning, we're going to hear from some experts in the field of economics, education, and healthcare, serving on the Council on State Public Affairs Forum. But before we do that, let me just tell you a little bit about Bergen Community College. Bergen Community College is the state's third largest college, the largest community college in the state. We serve 17,000 academic degree students and over 7,500 continuing education students. We have 3 campuses located, our main campus in Paramus, our Chiarco Learning Center in Hackensack, New Jersey, and our newest facility, the Meadowlands at 1280 West Wall Street in Lyndhurst. The Meadowlands complex will be fully open earlier next year, and we'll also have a conference center on the 5th floor with a beautiful view of the skyline of New York City. So when it opens in January, I hope you'll all check it out. We have a lot of exciting things happening here at the campus, and we hope to I want to share just a few of them with you this morning. We just recently opened our Aviation Simulation Lab. It is located in the Technology Education Center, and it was funded by a grant from the Emil Buehler Foundation, and we really thank them so much. Students here at Bergen will be able to work on both a fixed wing and helicopter simulator, and they'll study different paths in the aviation industry, leading to some very good careers. One program has gone through the continuing ed department, the other will go through career in our credit side. And we have partnered with Vaughan University in Long Island so the students can go on for their 4-year degree. Some other things happening here at the campus. In just a few short weeks, we'll have our 4th annual Women's Institute annual conference. The guest speaker will be Mary Higgins Clark. Then that conference will have workshops for women all day, mostly transitioning into careers, resume writing, life skills, coaching, and we will also be giving some demonstrations in the flight simulators that day. A good time to come and get some great experience and literally spread your wings. If you may not be familiar with the campus here in Paramus, we have the Anna Maria Ciccone Theater. The theater has a lot of great productions and musicals. Beyond just our students, we bring in quality performers from all over the world. To give you a quick rundown of 3 that are coming up, the Bergen Symphona Holiday Concert will be in December. Peter Yarrow, Peter, Paul, and Mary will be coming on in February, and then in May of next year, we have the Dance Theater of Harlem. You don't have to go to New York City, you don't have to pay the tolls, you don't have to hassle with the parking. You can come to Paramus, New Jersey and enjoy these quality performances. Today you're going to hear from some really great experts. I think you'll learn a lot of interesting information about what's happening in the industries we're discussing. And I really want to thank Rebecca Perkins, who's going to come up and speak to you now. Rebecca is the president of the Council on State Public Affairs, for reaching out and making this possible. Rebecca?
Thank you, Tracy. And first of all, we'd like to thank Tracy and Bergen Community College for hosting this event today. This is the 6th in a series of 12 state or county and regional conferences across the state. We've now heard from Mercer, Middlesex, Union, Hudson, and Central Jersey. So we're delighted to be back up north in New Jersey and continue our partnership with community colleges. We've seen many of them across the state, and we appreciate the beautiful facility and the programs that Tracy just outlined and that are going on across the state in our county colleges. This morning in Bergen County, we're joined by Freeholder Director John Mitchell and by John Galandak, who's president of the Commerce and Industry Association of New Jersey. And they're going to discuss with me the state of the economy in Bergen County. We should say, first of all, also a big thank you to our series sponsor, Allstate. We have some Allstate representatives with us this morning. And let's start off with you, Freeholder Mitchell. Actually, in a recent survey that was commissioned by Allstate Insurance, they found that in New Jersey respondents, it was a national poll, but if we break out New Jersey respondents, 52% of the people interviewed said that their financial situation is good or excellent, but 46% said it's fair or poor. So you have almost kind of a classic glass half full, half empty situation. From what your constituents tell you and from what you see in Bergen County, how would you characterize the local economy here?
Well, it's no different than you know the rest of the country, and in fact the world. The economy is still in a significant downturn. The people that are doing well generally do not come to me. It's the people that are unemployed, underemployed, on fixed income, facing foreclosure, that I hear from the most. And I try to not skew my view of things based on the only people I see. Your statistics bear out what I see on paper, but what I could tell you in person, that there are a lot of people out there really in tough times. You go into many towns here in Bergen County, and many of the businesses are shuttered. There's been an increase in bankruptcies, both Chapter 11 and Chapter 7s, that I can see. But there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And one of the things that we as elected officials here in Bergen County have taken on very, very seriously, we've done a lot of polling. And when we ask the question about what is the most important item here in Bergen County that we as elected officials can help you, and the issue always comes back consistently, the property taxes are too high.
And we're going to talk more about that. Let me ask John, first of all, tell us a little bit about your membership in Commerce Industry Association, and then tell us what you're finding from your members.
We're a broad-based business organization with 850 member companies, really across the spectrum of types of companies that are around in New Jersey, everything from professional services firms to healthcare to institutions of higher ed, manufacturing, really runs the gamut of types of businesses that are around. And I echo John's comments. Some people are doing well, but everyone, to a person, I think, is still anxious about finally emerging from this recession in a very robust way. So I think that, and it's always dangerous to go out on a limb here, but that I think that not only is the light at the end of the tunnel, but the worst is behind us. But the growth that we're experiencing is modest growth. And in the long run, maybe that's a good thing because you don't have these large peaks and troughs, but it certainly adds to the, I guess, the uncertainty and people's reluctance to move forward on some projects. But there are some good things that are happening both on the government and private side that are setting the stage for more robust growth going forward.
Let's talk about what's happening in the county. And I know you had mentioned, as we were speaking before, about the American Dream Project. That's something that we maybe read about if you live somewhere besides Bergen County. It doesn't have as much impact, obviously, on us. Could you briefly summarize that project and what you hope will happen from it?
Well, I mean, it's going to be a major boom for Bergen County. It's going to be a multi-purpose facility. We were talking offline here just before we came in with the chairman of the Meadowlands Chamber of Commerce, and you know, thousands and thousands of jobs are going to be created, and you know, and certainly it helps the local economy. Although I do have to say that it's taken longer than it should. I'm a big New York Giants fan. However, they've gotten themselves involved in a lawsuit against this. Theoretically, on the issue of traffic, and it's a bogus issue. It's like from the old Watergate days. Follow the money. It's a money issue there, and it's shame on the Giants and the Jets for putting this lawsuit together because it's affecting the economy. It's delaying job creation. And it's a shame that we have to deal with this.
And I think from the perspective of those of us who maybe just read about it in editorials and who aren't going to see that economic benefit, to play devil's advocate here, we kind of look at that and think, well, why is the state spending all that money for something that's kind of bogged down in a lot of controversy? And yet, as you say, there's going to be a huge economic impact directly to the county from that.
Well, sometimes a word lost in politics sometimes is courage. And we're looking for courageous leaders such as Governor Christie, our county executive, and myself as chairman of the Freeholder board. We're aggressively trying to push this project forward. It's for the best interest of the people of Bergen County. And then certainly, as I mentioned earlier about business development and everything, this will have a broad positive effect on the entire county of Bergen and the region for that matter.
And John, from your perspective, as your members?
I concur. It's an exciting project, not just because of the the scope of it and the largeness of it. It's run by the same people, American Dream, that run the Mall of America. They know what they're doing when it comes to these very, very large projects. But it's not just another shopping area, which we're certainly blessed to have. You know, it is one of our strengths, all the shopping, despite the fact that they're not even available on Sundays through most, if not all, of the county, with just minor exceptions like restaurants and emergency services. But we really are a shopping mecca, and this will add to it, but not just by creating more of the same stores. The whole concept is a different one, where it'll be the blend of entertainment and retail, and not strictly retail alone. People that drive by only see from the outside this unusual looking, I'll leave it at that, unusual looking facade and some of the renderings that they've seen, like a large carousel. But again, truly these are going to be unique, or at least very, very unusual aspects, including, I think, one of the pieces that's bogging down the progress or moving forward is the permits that are required to move forward with a year-round enclosed amusement park. And that's a big component of their success at other locations, and that's kind of been one of the linchpins, along with some of the financing that's required on such a large-scale project to move forward. But once it's in place, and they do move forward again, and I'm certain that it will, you will see many construction jobs in the short term, and then many long-term jobs created, permanent jobs that are going to really fuel the economy of the area and the state overall.
So that's what your members are excited
Yes.
about, that long-term economic impact.
Absolutely. And even the short term. You know, you talk to folks even in the IBEW and some of the other construction trades, and they're ready to get back to work. There, you know, are certainly lots of projects, again, waiting. This notion of uncertainty really has people pausing and trying to see if it's the right time to reinitiate some of the projects. I'm not sure if you want to change gears, but I'll throw in at the same point. The state legislature and the governor signed something called the Permit Extension Act, which is a good thing. Just before the recession hit, if there were projects on the table, not on this scale certainly, but on any scale, and the permits were in place to do them, they expire at a certain point in time and then must be reissued and basically start from scratch again with engineering and hearings and you know, all sorts of very time-consuming processes. Well, this Permit Extension Act allowed people that had a plan in place to continue to move forward without going back to square one again.
And do you think people are ready to move forward now that we're getting past some of the uncertainty and people are showing that they're readier to take those chances?
I think, you know, you look at different areas, if we're going to switch gears maybe a little bit to real estate and real property, the focus has changed. You know, a generation ago, Class A office space was the place where developers put a good deal of their money, and it still is a wonderful place for corporate headquarters and places that people can work and then commute back to a nice home within a reasonable time frame. The focus now has shifted, though, in terms of commercial real estate development, and that's a lot of it now on apartments and rental units. And certainly retail is still very big, and along many of the major corridors through Bergen County, you're seeing a renaissance in retailing and some new names coming into the market.
And Freeholder, let me ask you, how much of Bergen County's success is due to its location and its proximity to New York City?
Oh, it's big time, and as a matter of fact, just getting back to the American Dream, we're viewing this as an opportunity to build hotels and perhaps a convention center, and then you're very, very close. You're, you know, a 15-minute bus ride into the city. So you know, the synergies are perfect for not only for Bergen County but the entire region as a major development and economic mecca.
And you really, right now, Bergen County is poised to grow even more, I would assume, with what we're seeing in the trend for major companies to want to relocate closer to urban centers, with the state master plan looking to drive people back to cities. Is this something that you think is going to fuel Bergen's growth in the future?
Yes, to the credit of our county executive and the Freeholder board, we have put a lot of emphasis on economic development. We have changed the process in terms of actually going out and asking businesses, what are your needs? What is it that state and county and local governments can do to cut through the red tape, work on your property tax issues, which I mentioned earlier, and just providing information about what's available to come in and establish businesses. Right now, as we speak, the county executive is in Korea, and we have a sister county in Korea. I never pronounce it properly, so I'm not going to try right now.
Okay.
But in any event, the whole concept is to draw businesses here. We have a growing Korean American population here in Bergen County, and these new citizens have brought their culture to us. So now the county executive is over there visiting, and hopefully, we can learn from them, and then, ask them, look, this is a great place to bring your families and start a business. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed, and I know Kathy Donovan, she'll do a great job in that.
And I think obviously all that growth has the potential to increase costs. It increases some of the services that you have to provide. How about infrastructure in Bergen County? How is the infrastructure holding up?
The infrastructure is doing very well. I'm very impressed with the Department of Public Works at the county level, and obviously nothing is done in a vacuum, and they interface very well with the municipal governments, New Jersey Transit and others in terms of a blended approach to make sure the infrastructure here. Look, all over the country, I'm a big proponent of preventative maintenance, and we got to get better at doing that. A lot of times what we're out there fixing things that if we looked at it 5 years beforehand and did the work then, the cost would be a lot less than going about doing it right now. But I'm encouraged by the initiative of certainly what we're trying to do at the county level to bring that kind of mindset and do it smarter.
And John, from your members' perspective and from your perspective, are conditions prime in Bergen County to start new businesses? Not just looking at what kind of the economy is like, but services like infrastructure and other county. What makes this an attractive county to do business?
I believe they are. What makes Bergen County attractive is it really has the best of what our state's strengths are. You look at what we have. We have a highly educated workforce and a skilled workforce, a robust transportation network, easy access to the ports and to large markets even beyond New Jersey, major airports within a really short commute, and all these things come together and attract people from around the world to consider Bergen and New Jersey overall as a great place to start a business. These strengths attract people. However, on the downside, we've got this reputation now, this nagging reputation for being a very high-cost state, and it's not just a rumor, it's a fact. We're the highest cost in so many areas, including property tax and some of the other taxes. But then the other is this harder to put your finger on cost of complying with regulations. And so the Christie administration, certainly in cooperation with the Democrats and the Republicans in the legislature, have initiated a number of things which we hope will move forward and be accelerated, and also perhaps catch on both the county and local levels. One example of that is the reduction of red tape. We'd all like to see taxes go down immediately. But realistically, I think what we can do, and I must congratulate the county executive and the Freeholder board in Bergen, they're doing their best to hold down the rate of growth of taxes. And early on in the Christie administration, tying into this, the governor went out and sought a 2.5% annual property tax cap. Instead, the legislature came back. They rearranged how it was structured, but basically a 2% cap, so better than what was sought, at least in terms of the number, without getting down into the weeds. The governor sought a constitutional cap of 2.5%. They would have preferred the legislature to legislate it, but came back at least with a 2% cap, which was less. This has caused some of the counties and the municipalities to struggle with growing at that rate, because when you look even at your own household budget and the rate of increase of even things like health insurance, it's very difficult to stay within that cap. So it's forcing some very difficult choices and growing pains in terms of how do you grow at least at a slower rate. One of the things that I think we'll see out of necessity is consolidation and shared services on a larger level. This way the residents, the citizens still have the benefit of the services without the duplication with all the municipalities in Bergen County. There are a whole host of things that could be done in cooperation, one town with another. And these things aren't going to happen overnight, but as the opportunity arises, let's say, for example, if two school systems can share a superintendent, that will probably happen in most cases when one of the two towns that are maybe adjacent, one superintendent retires and the other might approach the other about sharing the cost of that superintendent of schools.
And that's an excellent point. And consolidation is a word you've been living with.
Yes.
For over the past year, which unfortunately in Bergen County we're finding that people are not that receptive to it. You all just voted down the opportunity to merge the county police and sheriff's departments.
Yes. As politicians, we do a lot of polling, and the overwhelming majority of people of Bergen County wanted this initiative to go forward. I was the major proponent to merge the county police with the sheriff. My Freeholder colleagues had a different idea. That's how democracy works, and it didn't go forward. But that doesn't mean that that initiative or that those thoughts have ended.
Oh, definitely haven't ended. But do you see the point where your members are clamoring for this and for a need to reduce property taxes, both residential if they live here and from a commercial perspective? At what point will that really have enough impact on someone like a Freeholder board to say, you know, you're right, we've got to listen to our constituents, we've got to do this? I mean, everybody says we should do it. Your members and business people say they want to do it, and yet it doesn't happen. So when does it happen?
Well, I guess maybe when the pain gets great enough, that's a heck of a way to say it, but you know, people moan and groan about the high cost of living in New Jersey, but we've still got this wonderful quality of life, you know, everything from the schools, which are expensive to support. Again, the public safety issues are critical for us, infrastructure, healthcare is available. So we've got many, many wonderful things that contribute to the quality of life, but they're pricey. So people don't want to do without them, but they don't want to see the price of them go up. I think the only practical way that I can see, or that others can as well, is to consolidate or do shared services or privatize them, which is to some people not such a great word, but to others it certainly works. Those people that really like that service will pay for it privately, and those that don't and never access it won't be taxed for it for something that they have no interest in. So it'll be a blend of things that you can do to still maintain the essential components that contribute to the quality of life and find a different way to pay for them. And I'm not suggesting shift it over to the federal government or the state, because we're all paying the same taxes. It's just a question of who do you write the check out to? Is it the federal government, the county government, or the state government? So as long as it's coming from the citizens' pockets, I think you have to find a more creative way to make it happen. But it probably will in many cases be phased in over time.
So what's the wave of the future here? You mentioned you had 70 municipalities in Bergen County.
That's correct. Which,
if you've ever seen like a test case for consolidation and shared services, I would think this would be like ground zero for that.
Well, as was just stated, you know, we tested it out. We asked people, and you know, for instance, in the most basic concept, whether it be a school districts or law enforcement, when you go to the towns and you talk to them about doing this consolidation, they'll say, you know, that's a great idea, but not in my town. And you get that over and over again. You know, there will come a breaking point. There will come a breaking point where people are not going to be able to make those decisions. I've heard from many, many residents, I like the idea when the police car drives by that it has Mawa
name of my town
on the side, and I feel more comfortable. And chances are this was a man or woman that grew up in our town. And I remember when, you know, Johnny was going to school, and I see him now in the police car and things like that. On the same token, they'll say, "Oh, my property taxes are, you know, we got to do something about it." You know, so that has to come together. And there's a lot of initiatives, you know, that we're trying to push through in terms of at the county level, whether it be snow removal and things of this nature.
There are a lot of things that people wouldn't really see, right? They wouldn't really know. You don't have a town's name on a snowplow.
Correct. You know, but I think the focus has to be for smaller government, more efficient government. And unless we get to that, and it's totally embraced by the people that are paying the bill, which is us, it's not going to happen. I don't see it happening in the near future, but certainly I think it's something that will be coming.
I think, though, if you can, our organization bases most, if not all of what it does on very strong free market principles, one of those being competition. And I think you'll even see those towns that are a little bit more forward-looking that embrace this consolidation or shared services may be rewarded by having their property values rise quicker than others, or have a more vibrant real estate market when there comes to a time when someone wants to sell their home. They'll be nicely surprised. Equivalent towns in so many ways, whether excellent school systems, beautiful wonderful recreation programs, all the things that people settle into and enjoy about Bergen County, those towns that do it for a little bit less expensive a property tax bill will be rewarded. People will notice. Realtors will steer people in a direction of those towns that, all things being equal, there's a lower property tax. And they'll wonder why that happens, and part of it may be this created shared services. So I think the competition among towns for their real estate values while maintaining the quality of life will help be a determining factor.
And you're an advocacy organization. Is this
Yes.
something your members are advocating for? Effective. I know at the state level you're active. Do you get active at a county level as well?
We don't get active on account. We keep a cordial relationship, but I guess the focus of most of our legislative efforts is on the state level. And I'll say this on camera, but for good or bad, most of the things the legislation that affects business emanates from Trenton, whether it's taxes or regulations. I do get to serve on a red tape review commission, which has been in place really since the early days of the Christie administration. And the charge of that group is to reduce regulations, unnecessary, duplicative regulations, without impacting quality of life or the protections they were meant to instill, whether they're environmental protections or others. And so this Red Tape Review Commission, which is being led by Lieutenant Governor Guadagno and has 4 members of the legislature, 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats, and 4 at-large members, has at least 3 public hearings a year and considers suggestions from anyone that's willing to speak up. Some of the things, their eyes would glaze over and they'd be bored, but some very critical things, even if they're boring to most people, have occurred. For example, one of the most recent has been a rewriting of our LLC laws. If you're a small corporation, limited liability corporation, we are now in line with most other states. And so benefits of rewriting this, all of a sudden one objection to maybe not wanting to come to New Jersey, this LLC law, is now in line with other states. So it's one less reason for all the wonderful things we enjoy to not be blunted by should I or should I not because of this LLC law. So there are other things that are going on in terms of this reduction of red tape, renewal of the licenses. Again, it seems mundane, but if you're a physician and have to go through reams of paperwork and manually renew your license every 2 years, most of the professional licenses now, because of the red tape review, have gone online, and maybe even for a slightly longer period of time. So any way that we can make it easier for businesses to operate in New Jersey, to attract them here, makes a whole lot of sense. It's our hope on the Red Tape Review Commission that a lot of the same ideas filter down to both the county and the state level, or county and local levels.
And let me ask you, Freeholder, obviously, as John said, these are state laws, but can you coordinate, do you coordinate with the state, and do you see a direct impact on businesses here in Bergen County from these state laws, and do you work together to try to do things that will be beneficial for business?
Yes, and one of my new additions to the Freeholder was a former Assemblywoman, Joan Voss, and she knows the roadmap back and forth to Trenton, and it's been very good. For instance, one of the things that we get caught up in making purchasing decisions at the county level is that you got to purchase off the state contract, and sometimes the prices are good, and sometimes the prices aren't as great. And again, who's paying for it but the taxpayer? So we're trying to work on that level to give us a little more flexibility so that we're not a slave to the state contract, but to use it as a tool and then be able to make purchases outside the state contract right now where we're prohibited from doing so in many cases. So it's those kind of things.
And certainly the economy drives those things. So in a sense, I guess perhaps this economy is somewhat of a blessing in that it's really driven people to say we've got to find ways to save costs and spending costs.
Well, economy, yes, but I can tell you the mindset, I can tell you, certainly under my leadership is whether the economy is good or bad, we would look for more efficient ways of doing it in the right way. One of the big things that stymies us, and it's a big cost to the taxpayer, and the governor has been behind this, is civil service reform. It's a thing that really stifles the most basic of. Just a quick example, you wanted to move one employee over here because they just got a college degree to do something. Well, on the civil service, you're not permitted to do that. There's all of these bumping rights. It's really a very, very silly system. So I applaud the governor, but I urge the legislature to really get behind it. It will help and make, in terms of having a direct and significant impact on property taxes at every level, certainly at the municipal level and certainly at the county level, if we could get in there and have a little bit more, a little more authority in terms of how we deal with our personnel.
Would that have a positive impact on consolidation of services?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, you're always worried about, well, what does civil service say? What are the rules? And they're arcane and they're complicated. And in many instances, nothing gets done because people don't want to put the effort in. It needs a complete overhaul. And again, it's probably something really in the weeds and becomes more complicated than it's necessary, but it's an important initiative. And I hear it from the mayors, and I hear it certainly at the county level. This is a very, very important element to really get our economy going. And certainly will certainly help, and as John mentioned, about bringing new businesses to the towns and creating jobs and everything else like that. You got to take the handcuffs off.
And we're almost out of time. I told you we'd go quickly.
Yes.
Let me ask you both for a parting thought. What's the best thing that could happen to improve the economy in Bergen County in the months ahead?
I would think, again, it's the focus on on getting the property taxes from my perspective. I seem to be a one-issue guy, but I think it has
It's an important issue.
It's a very important issue. Smaller government is always the best thing, maintaining the services, but at a smaller level. And I think that's the real big thing. You know, we're going to have a presidential election coming up, and I think a lot of the uncertainty in the country right now, where the citizens of our country will make a decision, and we will have a clearer direction as to which direction the country is going to go. No matter who it is, I think it's going to be a positive thing, just in terms of getting rid of that uncertainty.
Which seems to be hanging over everyone. John, from your perspective.
I agree on the uncertainty, even if it's bad news in terms of what the answer is. Knowing the answer is better than not knowing, and so people will make plans accordingly. Either they'll expand, they won't at this point, based on what they hear, but at least they'll be able to move forward with some confidence. And while I agree on the property taxes, and I applaud you for working as diligently as you are and do whatever you can, whether it's consolidation, shared services, but I also would urge you on the regulatory side, because I think when you eliminate some unnecessary regulations, you'll see an immediate impact. The property tax reduction, or at least containment of growth, will take some time to be felt. But on the regulatory side, you'll see it immediately. Nobody put me up to this, but we would be remiss if we did not point out one of our strengths, and that's the college system of higher ed within New Jersey. And one thing you'll see on this fall's ballot is a referendum on spending, or a bond issue to supply some of the capital needs of the colleges and universities. And so it's been 25 years since we've invested in one of our crown jewels, not only Bergen Community College and the other community colleges, but the four-year institutions as well. And if we neglect that, this is one of the key pieces that we'll have in place. Not if we neglect it, if we don't neglect it, we'll be in a better position than we are now to attract businesses and businesses to New Jersey, Bergen, and beyond, certainly in the pharma area. One of the reasons that we've been a historic leader in pharma is because of our institutions of higher ed. They make great partners for many of the pharma and medical device companies, some of which we have in Bergen County, like Stryker Orthopedics, medical device manufacturer up on Route 17 in Mahwah, or Eastside up in the Montvale area. But to have these partnerships, we're competing with places like Massachusetts. And we all know the institutions of higher ed up there. If government goes out of its way to be sure that we have a robust set of higher ed institutions to work with businesses, that'll plant the seeds again for future growth. So we do need to support our higher education in New Jersey.
Business sees this as a necessary investment.
Absolutely.
Terrific. Well, gentlemen, thank you both very much for being with me this morning.
Thank you so much. We get to shake.
Yes, we do. Thank you.
John, thank you.